When I turned to monster erotica, my mother was like, "What the hell are you doing? What in the hell are you thinking, boy?" What I did was I logged onto my Amazon account and I showed her the money I was making from it. And she's like, "You know what, boy, you just do you."
If you've wanted yet feared to do work that is weird, this is the show you just need to hear.
Hi, I'm Sam Balter, and this is Weird Work. Alara Brenwin is a quiet Midwestern college girl known for her raunchy dinosaur erotica writing. And that guy you heard at the top? That's her. Today, on the first episode of Weird Work ever, we talked about why he pretends to be a woman on the internet and helps me come up with my own pen name for writing erotica. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcast, Radio Public, The Gates of Hell, or wherever you get your podcast fix.
Now let's listen to them speak about their jobs, which are quite unique. Weird Work.
In one sentence, how do you describe what you do?
In one sentence, I would say I write my perversions on a page for other people to enjoy.
That's beautiful. What are your particular perversions?
My perversions are pretty much just whatever I can think up. Really, the funny thing is I'm more of a vanilla type person myself, but I can tailor my writing and the stuff that I like to my audience and to what an audience wants.
But you yourself are like pretty vanilla. You're not like dressing
I
up in
would-
dinosaur costumes or anything like that.
No. My I think the worst I get is like very light BDSM. I'm not very big into like the hardcore stuff.
Yeah, but you got monsters.
I do have
demons.
monsters.
But not in your own personal life, just on the page.
No, well, sometimes my boss can be a monster, but that's another story. But no, if you're wondering about why monsters are in my work, I'm a big fan of fantasy fiction. I wanted to try the idea of writing a story with monsters and erotica in it. So what I did was I took my favorite monster, a dragon. I created a scenario, I wrote the story, and I put it out there. And I wasn't expecting anything from it, but it actually turned out to be a real big seller. And that's one reason I turned to monster erotica, because it made good money, and it was really fun to write. Monsters allowed me to create some really strange scenarios, like science fiction, fantasy, slightly horror-esque scenarios. It's the one genre I never ran out of ideas for.
So you're never like worried about coming up with the next idea for an erotica novel. You got those locked down for years.
Right, for short stories anyway. Novels can be a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, as far as just monster erotica goes, yeah, I've got just tons and tons of ideas.
Broadly, like, why did you get into erotica specifically?
I was very young when I first started. The reason why I got into it, my mother was very sick, and because of that, she lost her job. And we had, no money coming in. I was going to school at the time, and I really liked to write. So what I first started doing was writing stuff like advertisements, doing ad copy, doing ghostwriting. And through some of my ghostwriting gigs, I found that erotica was selling. And I had a friend of mine. He was a bit older, and he was a self-proclaimed pervert like I am. He said, "Hey man, I read some of this stuff online, and there's a little bit of it out on Amazon. Maybe you can make a little money and help your financial situation." So what I would do is, after I get home from school, I would write a story, and I ended up writing about 4 or 5 stories. I put them out there, and I didn't make tons, but I made enough to keep me going. So what I basically would end up doing is I'd go to school, do my homework, and then I would just start writing my fiction. It was exhausting work, but eventually, after about 2 or 3 months, I was making what would equate to a living. And so I was able to take care of my mother until she got back on her feet. And then after I was done, I was like, this is really cool. Maybe I could do this. So as I went to college, I did it. And eventually I just kept doing it because, well, the money was good and it was fun to do. And at this point, I was already doing the monster stuff, and I had tons of fun ideas that I could try. And so it just kind of went from there.
What did your mom think about you turning to writing erotica, specifically towards like dinosaurs and monsters and things like that?
At the beginning, of course, I didn't do that specifically. She thought it was a bit amusing at first because she's like, there's no way that someone your age could do that, and I did it, and she read it, and she's like, huh, okay, well, I was wrong. But when I turned to monster erotica, my mother was like, "What the hell are you doing? What in the hell are you thinking, boy?" And then what I did, I said, "Well, I was thinking that this could be fun." But what I did was I logged onto my Amazon account and I showed her the money I was making from it. And she's like, "You know what, boy, you just do you."
So that's so funny. So she was skeptical until she was like, "Oh, this is paying for things. Great. Yeah, do whatever you want."
Yeah, and after she got back on her feet and she got another job and she saw that I was still making money with it. She was like, I don't know what to think about all this, but if it makes you happy and it's making you money, do you just keep doing it until it's not fun anymore and then do something else. She kind of stressed the do something else thing, but
yeah, that something else is always an option.
Exactly.
Like you can always do something else, but this is fine too. I wanna like kind of pull back a little bit. You write under a lot of different names, like
I do.
Alara Brenwin, Christie Sims. First off, they're unbelievably good author names. So I'm just wondering, how did you come up with these names?
Basically what I did was I looked up fantasy names online for the first few names that I used, and then I would just pick one that looks interesting to me. I like the name Alara because I was going to name myself Aurora, but I saw the name Alara and I fell in love with it. And Branwyn is actually just a variant of the name Bronwyn, which I believe is either Irish or Scottish. When I was a kid, I had a big thing for like Irish and Scottish and Viking stuff. So I thought Branwyn, that'll work.
And then what's kind of like the back? Because I noticed there's some great backstories to these authors. Like what's the sort of typical backstory for one of your pen names?
I kind of based it a little bit on myself. So a typical backstory would be that I was a college student that was just, kind of bored with life, and she wants to act out her perversions, and she couldn't find any other way to do it, so she did it through erotica. In the erotica world, female pen names sell better than male pen names. I kind of wish it wasn't that way, but that's the way it is. I actually did a test myself, and I found out that I created a male pen name. I can't remember what it is now. I haven't checked the account in a long time. And a female pen name. And I found out that the female pen name and the male pen name, they sold the same type of erotica, but the female pen name outsold the male pen name by a bunch. Okay, so I'll use female pen names from now on.
Do you think in the erotica like world, do you think a lot of them are men writing as women?
I can tell you that a lot of them are because I know quite a few of them.
Oh.
Now some of them are women. Back in the olden days, it's not so much this way now, thankfully. But a lot of women would use their initials, so that you would just assume that it was a man writing it. But in erotica, you're going to want to make sure that you're a woman, or at least your pen name is a female pen name.
With the other erotica writers, like how many are you friends with them? Do you consider yourself in competition? Do you like swap story ideas? Like how do you work with the other people in the erotica industry?
The way things are set up now, especially on Amazon, the way they pay their writers, it's one great big competition. However, a lot of writers support each other because it's very hard. I don't think that I would be able to do what I do or write as fast if I didn't have, at least a little bit of support, someone I can talk about my days and everything, because being a writer, it's very hard to connect with other people. Because I mean, as you can tell, I'm a bit of a strange person myself. So
no, come on.
At least I admit it. But they're easier to talk to, and it's kind of funny. A lot of the writers that I talk to now, I idolized when I was younger, because at one point I was a young pervert and I read some of their work. And funny thing, I found out that my favorite writer was actually somebody who I regularly kept in contact with, and I never knew.
Huh. I'd love to talk a little bit more about your writing. Like, how long does it take you to write one of these books?
Okay, well, it depends. A short story used to take me 2 to 3 days. Now I can get one written in about 3 or 4 hours and have it edited in about one, so about 5 hours in total. If you're talking about a novel, most of my novels run around 60 to 80,000 words. That takes me about 15 to 20 days to write, and the editing process for those is usually about 5 to 10.
And do you do the editing yourself or do you have an editor?
Okay, for my novels, I have an editor, but for my short stories, I usually have to do a lot of my editing. Not always the case. Sometimes my editor does have time, but usually she's focused more on my novels, and I just have to kind of do my short stories as well as I can. But I've actually been told I'm a pretty good editor, so
So yeah, pretty self-sufficient. So okay, so like give me it sounds like you were writing for a little while, a few of these novels, and then one of them took off.
yes.
Can you explain like what that was like, that first sort of viral success?
At the time, I was actually going through a very difficult period in my life, so I was feeling a bit burned out because at that time I had written close to 700 or 800 short stories. So I was feeling a bit burned out, and I was always thinking, geez, each one of these short stories, it feels like I'm dropping a pebble into, a big well. And then one day I looked at my sales and I had just a bunch, and I didn't understand what was going on. People were leaving comments, people were saying, oh my God, this is weird, and they were telling jokes, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And so I looked online and I found this one blogger made a post about one of my books, and then I think the Daily Mail picked up this blogger's post, and then things went crazy from there. And it was a surreal feeling. I just started laughing because it's like, of all the things to get famous for, this is the last thing I ever thought I was, ever going to be famous for. I thought I was one day I would write the Great American Novel and maybe get famous for that.
You
But
still got time. You could still write the great American novel.
I know. But I mean, I was just saying at the time, I never thought that something like that would happen. I immediately jumped on it and started working my contacts, trying to get as much of a push of this as I can. So while I was surprised, I was also, working very hard to make sure this lasted as long as I can and make sure to get as much out of it as I could.
And when was this?
This was in October of 2013.
And it just got picked up and spawned basically the golden years of dinosaur erotica.
Pretty much. Well, I would say the golden month or two. It didn't last that long, and I didn't think it would. But yeah, it pretty much spawned that, and it spawned parodies. It spawned all kinds of stuff. Right after that, an author named Chuck Tingle started writing, his parody works, and it spawned a lot of good writers. And it actually, I've been told, inspired one or two people to write. And I always think when those people told me, hey, your work inspired me to write, and I just thought to myself, you poor soul, you couldn't have been inspired by something amazing, something great. You had to be inspired by dinosaurs doing it with hot women.
So, like, are you always very private about your actual identity?
I was at one point. I think recently I've become more honest. As you can see in a lot of the interviews, I pretended to be Alara Brandon and Christie Sims. And if you want to know why, I was dating a woman at the time. She and her family, or her family mainly, wouldn't have really approved of what I did, and I didn't really want my family to know, other than my mother and some close family members, and certainly not my friends, that I was doing this. I kept the secret. And for those that are listening, if you were thinking I was a woman and were thinking, oh my gosh, this hot stuff was written by hot women, I do apologize, but but I was really just trying to protect my family.
So, I guess what made you decide to kind of relax a little bit more and be less private?
I figured it just didn't really matter anymore. I'm not, super famous. I never really wanted to be. In the month or two that the stuff got really big, I did a lot of interviews and it got really tiring. And so at that time, I really didn't want to be famous or known, because I really wanted to be just left alone, and I wanted to protect my family. But now I'm more relaxed because it just doesn't seem like anyone really cares. It's like, oh, okay, you're a pervert. just like the other millions of perverts we know. Good for you.
Yeah, so like at this point, and do you think that's just like culturally, or just you've become more okay with it, or a little bit of both?
It's probably a little bit of both. Culturally, I think it would have been fine. For me, I think I just got a little older. I got a little wiser. I got a little less uptight about my work in general. I fully became aware of what I was doing, and I realized that I just needed to have fun with it. Because I mean, it's no fun writing stuff like this and just trying to be all uptight and scared about it.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. So you've kind of broken your books down into like short stories, and some of them are slightly longer, but they tend to be really short. Why
Most
do
of
you?
them are short.
Yeah, is there a particular reason on why you write such short stories?
That came back to 2010 when I first started writing. The way Amazon was originally set up, it was actually more advantageous to write short stories because you could make more money on it, and especially short erotica. And that was true for about, I would say, about 5 years. Gradually, Amazon changed things so that longer works could actually start competing and doing well. Basically, what it came down to was Amazon was tired of listening to the popular authors that were left on their website screaming at them because they weren't making as much money as they thought they should. So Amazon curbed that and they pushed them down. They pushed writers of longer fiction, especially the more popular writers, up. And so that actually kind of skewed me towards novel writing as well.
What did they do particularly that pushed it towards longer form?
They created Kindle Unlimited. So they have a pot of money and they said, okay, people can borrow your books in this program if you choose to opt in. And if you didn't choose to opt in, Amazon used their algorithms to destroy your books and push them far down the rankings. But if you did opt in, what you could do is say, okay, people in Kindle Unlimited can borrow your books. And if they read them to the 10% point, you basically get a share of this money. That was good for short erotica authors because you could open the book and boom, you've got 10%.
Because like it's like a 20-page book, so they read to like the first chapter, and they're pretty much it's instantly you're covered.
Right.
Cool.
So eventually, Amazon catches on to this. The big authors start complaining again. And so they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to change it around. We're still going to have the big pot of money, but we're going to do it by pages read. What that did is they would take all of the pages read and divide it into the pot and then divide the money out like that. And believe it or not, that actually hurt short erotica authors because short stories don't have as many pages and therefore they don't get as much money for their work.
And has the way Amazon adjusts these payments changed the way you write?
It has. I write longer now, and that I don't mind because I've always wanted to write novels. But the biggest thing is a lot of people are padding their books because the pay for pages read has actually gone down by about 33% since this pay scheme has started.
Hmm.
Because more and more people are reading, and less money is being put into the pot to keep up with this. And so, people like me are getting hurt because we're making less money, but the readers are also getting hurt because people are opting out of Kindle Unlimited and going their own way. And so there are fewer writers that you can just pretty much read for free or, well, for your $10 a month.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's so strange to think like how these minor adjustments to algorithms can be like actually change the way you write.
I know it is strange, but I mean, I still find a way to write the things that I enjoy and hopefully other people enjoy reading. So, I mean, I'm always going to find a way to find the fun in my job.
So, okay, so like you got 1,000 ideas. Let's say I want to start getting into this now. Can you
Okay.
can we go through like a brainstorm of like how you would help me here?
Sure.
So let's start pen names because I can't be Sam Balter. I obviously want a pen name, and if I'm gonna write erotica, it's got to be a lady name.
Okay, so your name is Sam Balter. I like your last name, but what I want to do is I just want to use the first letter. So let's start with a B. Let's think of something that goes down smooth, but something that's spicy. How about brandy?
Oh, okay. I love that. Brandy.
Okay.
Spicy but goes down smooth. That might just have to be part of my profile now.
Heck yeah. So let's go with Brandy. How about M? I'm going to take the last letter of your first name. Does that sound good?
Yeah, okay. So we got an M.
No, I keep thinking of fish names, and I just don't think that's going to work. Like Brandy Marlin or something like that. No, I don't think that's going to work.
Birds, maybe?
How about...
What do we got?
Can you think of a bird?
With an M? For some reason, I'm stuck on the blue jay. I don't know much about birds, to be honest. Are you typing?
I'm Googling.
Yeah.
I'm
Google.
Googling
Yeah,
it.
let's Google a quick M bird that might be good. Oh wait. Oh my god.
Ooh.
Yeah. What do you got? Tell me what you got.
Brandy Maltese.
Yeah, I love that. I also love the Maltese Falcon. Great story.
Oh yes. So there we go. Brandy Maltese, spicy and mysterious.
Yes.
My
Okay.
God.
Okay, great. Brandy Maltese. How can people read some of your work?
Okay, so basically the way things are now, I'm all in on Amazon because there's really no other place I can put it. A lot of places are cracking down on erotica. So what you can do is either you could just go on to Amazon.com, find my author page, Alara Brandwin, and just buy the books. Or what you could do is you could subscribe to Kindle Unlimited, and you can read all my books for basically $10 a month. You just read through them, get your jollies, and go.
Cool. Well, I just want to say thanks again so much for being on. I really appreciate you taking the time and opening up about so many different things here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I had so much fun.
I did too. Thanks a lot. Oh, look, it's me again. You thought it was over. I'll give you one guess what I'm about to ask. Oh yeah, it's to subscribe to this podcast. If you do, I'll love you forever. Unless you're Ira Glass, in which case, I'm on to you. Thanks.